Pennsylvania. Navigate IUP libraries. The following 38 Civil War letters were written by brothers Robert Alexander Lowry and William Gustin Lowry from August 2, 1861, to June 19, 1863. These letters are part of Manuscript Group 130, Logan Moorhead Collection. The Lowry brothers enlisted in the 62nd Regiment of the Pennsylvania Volunteers, and both were killed during the Civil War. Their parents were Rhoda Stone Lowry, 1806 to 1895, and Robert Lowry. The Rhoda Stone Lowry Civil War Diary has entries from May 16, 1863, to June 17, 1864. Robert Alexander Lowry, 1838 to 1862, and William Gustin Lowry, 1836 to 1863, were brothers and the great-great-uncles of Logan R. Moorhead, the writer. Robert Alexander Lowry and William Gustin Lowry were the brothers of Logan Moorhead's great-grandmother, Margaret Judson Lowry Logan. Robert Alexander Lowry, William Gustin Lowry, and Margaret Judson Lowry were the children of Robert and Rhoda Stone Lowry of Freeport, Pennsylvania. At the outbreak of the Civil War, the Lowry brothers were living in Curlsville, Pennsylvania in Clarion County, and they enlisted for 3-year hitches in C Company of the 62nd Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteers on July 4, 1861. William Gustin Lowry, Gus, was the company's second lieutenant, and Robert Alexander Lowry, Gon, was a private. On July 25, 1861, this regiment was mustered into the U.S. Union Army at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and moved immediately to Camp Cameron, near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for a few weeks of camp life, and then on to Baltimore, Maryland, and then to Washington, D.C. In September 1861, the 62nd Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteers crossed the Potomac River and was assigned to the 2nd Brigade of General Porter's division. Then, the 2nd Brigade moved to Miners Hill and went into winter quarters in Camp Betty Black. William Gustin Lowry was promoted to first lieutenant on November 12, 1861. It was here that the younger of the two, Robert Alexander Lowry, a corporal and bugler, accidentally shot and killed himself with his brother's revolver on February 1, 1862, at the age of 23. Robert Alexander Lowry was born on June 30, 1838, according to his mother's diary. The regiment was mainly engaged in drill and training and saw no action before leaving by transport in March 1862 for the Peninsula, where it encamped at Fortress Monroe, near Hampton, Virginia. On April 3, 1862, the 62nd Regiment moved with the Army upon Yorktown, where it experienced its first encounter with Confederate troops uniformed in gray. Skirmishing ensued, and the 62nd Regiment marched forward and took its place in the line of battle under fire. The enemy was soon obliged to evacuate, and the loss to the 62nd Regiment was 1 killed and 3 wounded, none in C Company. From this time on, until the end of the war, C Company's 62nd Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteers served in the 2nd Brigade, 1st Division, 5th Corps. The regiment was engaged in all the major battles of the Army of the Potomac, including 7 Days, 2nd Bull Run, Antietam, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor and Petersburg. William Gustin Lowry was engaged in all his regiment's battles up through Gettysburg, where he was killed in action on July 2, 1863, in the woods between the west corner of the wheatfield, now called the Loop, and the Rose Farm. He fell, instantly killed, very shortly after his brigade, Sweetzer's 2nd Brigade, Barnes' 1st Division, Sykes' 5th Corps, entered the battle in support of General Sickles' 3rd Corps, which was collapsing under the crushing attack of Confederate Generals Hood and McClaw on the Union Army's extreme left flank. He was probably killed by men of Kershaw's brigade of McClaw's division. He had been promoted to major on September 10, 1862, just prior to Antietam, and had married on February 12, 1863. A fine tribute is paid him in the address of Captain W. J. Patterson at the dedication of the 62nd Regiment Infantry at Gettysburg Monument on September 11, 1889. In his death, the service lost as brave a soldier and as faithful an officer as any that fell that day in defense of this country. He was born January 27, 1836, according to the cemetery marker in Freeport, Pennsylvania. For a complete account of C Company, 62nd Regiment, see U.S. Army, Regimental History, 62nd Pennsylvania Volunteers. William Gustin Lowry, Gus, was buried in the Gettysburg National Cemetery, even though there are 2 tombstones, one for Robert Alexander Lowry and one for Major William Gustin Lowry in the Freeport, Pennsylvania Cemetery Lot Number 38, Section B. See July 1989 photo on page 6. It was determined that Major William Gustin Lowry's stone was only a commemorative marker, which was popular during the war, and it was placed in his memory. He is buried at the Gettysburg National Cemetery in Pennsylvania State Lot 18, Section B, grave number 26. See October 1990 photo on page 6, and there is a bronze 62nd Infantry plaque on the wall at the base of the Pennsylvania monument bearing his rank and name. See October 1990 photo on page 6. Robert Alexander Lowry, gone, and his mother, Rhoda Stone Lowry, are buried in the Freeport, Pennsylvania Cemetery in Armstrong County, Lot Number 38, Section B, Sites 1 and 2. Rhoda Stone Lowry died July 19, 1895, at the age of 89 and was interred in this cemetery plot without a tombstone. Cemetery records indicate that Robert Alexander Lowry and his tombstone, and the commemorative marker for Major William Gustin Lowry were probably transferred from the old cemetery at the site of what is now Freeport Junior High School on 4th Street, since the present cemetery was not incorporated until 1864, and both Lowry brothers were killed prior to that year. Just when this plot was purchased by the Lowry family, when Robert Alexander Lowry and the two stones were transferred to the present cemetery and under which stone Rhoda Stone Lowry is buried couldn't be determined. Although Robert Alexander Lowry's stone states that he is the son of Robert and Rhoda Lowry, no records could be found of the place of burial of Robert Lowry, who died in 1840 in Freeport, Pennsylvania. Note: the 62nd Regiment lost heavily at Gettysburg in its battle at the Wheatfield during the afternoon of July 2, 1863. Of the 26 officers and 400 enlisted men entering the battle, 4 officers and 24 men were killed, 10 officers and 97 men wounded and 40 men taken prisoners, a loss ratio of 54% of the officers and 40% of the men.